Now, for those viewers out there that don't know me, I am a deadlift specialist. I don't have a great bench, I don't have a great squat, but I do have a good deadlift. I lift over 3 times my body weight at 181. I have 9 world records in the deadlift. So it only stands to reason that I would admire the first man to deadlift 700 pounds officially, and that was Bob Peoples from Tennessee. Bob was a farmer, just like his father, so he had a full-time job farming, plus helping his father with his farm, and he held a full-time job at a rayon plant. Now, in 1946, the world deadlift record at 181 was 650 pounds. In September 1946, Bob broke that record with a 651-pound deadlift. On October 4th, 1947, Bob Peoples became the first man officially in history to deadlift 700 pounds. Then in 1949, he broke his own record with 725 3/4 pounds. In 1979, Bob Peoples published Developing Physical Strength. Now, this book is only 50 pages long, but it has an introduction by Paul Anderson, who was at the time the world's strongest man. These two gentlemen were good friends, and they would train together sometimes at the dungeon, which was actually the name they gave Bob's basement gym, because Bob's basement was carved from rock. And it's very interesting. You can see pictures of the dungeon. And again, Bob was very unique. Bob was unique because he was the first man to deadlift 700 pounds, but Bob also invented some of the equipment that we consider staples in the gym today, like the leg press, the Kelso shrug bar, the rack, the power rack. He actually had a leg press that the weights were oil drums, and there are photographs of these different pieces of equipment in the book, and I recommend this book to everyone. You might have a little trouble finding it, but it is available out there on the internet because it was republished in 1997. We've all heard the term, necessity is the mother of invention. Well, I think Bob Peoples was the father of invention when it came to weightlifting apparatus and weight training methods. Now, he was a good friend of Bob Heiss. We all remember Bob Heiss, one of the great lifters back in the 40s and 50s. And Bob related a story regarding one of Bob Peoples' training methods. And let me read what he said rather than make a mistake. I want to quote Mr. Heiss correctly. Bob said, "Some of Bob's training methods were unique. He built a bouncing platform of 2 oak 2 by 12-inch boards 8 feet long, nailed barbell width apart on 4 by 4 timbers underneath at each end. By using the lift on his tractor, extending and lowering raising mechanism, which he could operate by placing his head against the actuator, 800 pounds would be lifted to an upright extended position, and he would lower this with a bounce and attempt to get the bar to his knees. This would build great starting strength." So if Bob failed, he just leaned forward and hit the actuator with his head, and the bar would raise back up above his knees. So, I mean, who would have thought of that? This guy was great at inventing all kinds of pieces of equipment. I mean, this guy literally carved his gym out of rock, and there are many, many stories of the amazing genius of Bob Peoples. Bob Peoples had to be one of the hardest working men that ever lived. Sometimes he'd get off work at the rayon plant at 2 a.m., get a bite to eat, and train. Sometimes he would get so mad at himself because he wasn't happy with his progress. His wife Juanita said he'd take his weights outside, throw them down the hill, and say he'd never lift again. The next day he'd go down the hill and pull the weights back up the hill and put them in the dungeon and go back to training. Now Bob's in the Tennessee Hall of Fame, Athletic Hall of Fame, but Bob was no country bumpkin. Bob had a degree from the University of Tennessee.